The 2015-16 season saw Leicester City's 111th season in the English Football League system, and their 48th non-consecutive season in the top tier of English football. Leicester City were confirmed as champions of the 2015-16 season on the 2nd of May 2016. They were 5,000 to 1 with bookmakers to win the league before the season had even kicked off. That feat meant Leicester City would be playing in the UEFA Champions League for the first time in the club's history. That season also saw history made for individual players within the squad, like striker Jamie Vardy broke the record for goals scored in consecutive games, which was 11. And Riyad Mahrez became the first African and Algerian player to win the PFA Player of the Year award. Their manager, surprisingly enough, was one Claudio Ranieri. Hello, I am Oliver James, and this is another episode of Football Stories. Before I get into the video, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And you can also comment in the comment section down below on what you think of the video and on what other videos you would like me to do. Without any further ado, let's crack on. We start with August 2015, the start of the new season. Leicester City took on Sunderland at the King Power. They won 4-2. Jamie Vardy scored. Riyad Mahrez got 2. And Mark Albrighton relatively comfortable. Then the second game they were away to West Ham. Wasn't so convincing. They won 2-1. Shinji Okazaki scored and Riyad Mahrez. That was 3 goals now and has met in 2 games for the Algerian. And then the next week they took on Tottenham Hotspur. 1-1 draw. Riyad Mahrez again. That was his 4th goal this season. And then to end August, they took on Bournemouth and also drew 1-1. Jamie Vardy scored. So they started the season. They started at the end of August. 2 wins, 2 draws, undefeated start. And that continued heading into September, where they beat Aston Villa 3-2. Richie Delat scored his first of the season and Jamie Vardy scored 2 goals. Just to say that this was the start of his 11 consecutive games run where he scored. And then the 6th game of their season they took on Stoke, drew 2-2 away from home. Riyad Mahrez and Jamie Vardy both scored. Then came their first defeat on the 7th game of the season at home. They lost 5-2 to Arsenal. They were absolutely battered, but Jamie Vardy did score both in that game. The 8th game they took on Norwich. They won 2-1. Jamie Vardy and Jeffrey Schlupp. That was like the 5th or 6th consecutive game now for Vardy. People were talking. Then they took on Southampton, drew 2-2. This is in mid-October now. Vardy scored 2 again. This was looking phenomenal. He was already into double figures for the season. We were only mid-October. Then they beat Crystal Palace 1-0. Surprisingly, their first clean sheet of the season, Jamie Vardy scored again. And then to end October, they were away at the Hawthorns. They won 3-2. Riyad Mahrez got 2 in that game. Jamie Vardy again scored. That was 3-2. And then the start of November, Leicester City took on Watford. They won 2-1. N'Golo Kante scored his first of the season. And Jamie Vardy again. That was 9 consecutive games now that he had scored in. Then they took on Newcastle, won 3-0. Jamie Vardy, Leonardo Joa and Shinji Okazaki, 10 consecutive games for Vardy. Then they took on Manchester United and drew 1-1. Jamie Vardy scored Leicester's only goal. That was his 11th consecutive game. Could it be 12? When they won 3-0 at Swansea. No, it couldn't, because Riyad Mahrez scored a hat-trick. But then, the 16th game, they beat Chelsea 2-1. Jamie Vardy scored again. Only if he had scored the previous game, he would have been on a record 13. And then Riyad Mahrez. Then, they took on Everton, won 3-2. Mahrez scored twice. And then Okazaki scored as well. And then, their second defeat of the season came, where they lost to Liverpool 1-0 at Anfield. Then Then they drew to Man City 0-0 in a game where they were absolutely outplayed, but their defence stood strong. At this point, people are talking. You are entering January, Leicester City top on a roll. Only had lost 2 games in January. They had won 11. They'd drawn 6. That was 39 points out of a possible 45. That was incredible. They were top heading into the new year. It was very rare that a team who was top on Christmas wouldn't win the league. Only Liverpool knew that, I think, once or twice. Sickening, really. People were talking 5,000 to 1 at the start. Surely history was not about to be made. At the start of January, it didn't look like it, did it? They took on Bournemouth and drew 0-0, but then a Robert Hoof goal in the next one. They beat Tottenham 1-0 at White Hart Lane. Then they took on Villa, drew 1-1. Okazaki with a goal. That was their downfall, wasn't it? Drawing to teams that they shouldn't have drawn so far, like they have Stoke City, Bournemouth at home, away to Villa. Man City won. That's a good result. Then they retook on Stoke again because they played each team twice. They scored 3 goals, 3-0. Danny Drinkwater, Jamie Vardy, and Leonardo Joa got the goals. Then in February, they got revenge on Liverpool. Jamie Vardy scored both in a 2-0 win. One of them was an absolute exquisite finish. Mignolet had no chance. But then they took on Manchester City at the Etihad. They won 3-1. Robert Hoof got 2 in that game. Wow, that's incredible for him. And Riyad Mahrez got a goal. But they took on Arsenal. So 3 very tough games in a row. Liverpool, Man City, then Arsenal. But they lost 2-1. Vardy did score. Arsenal done a double over Leicester. Despite Leicester on this incredible run, Arsenal done the double over them. And then they beat Norwich 1-0, Leonardo Joa. Going into March, they drew 2-2 with West Brom. Olsen own goal, and King scored for them. Andy King scored as well for them. Then they went to Vicarage Road, beat Watford 1-0. Riyad Mahrez again in this incredible season that he was having with the club. He was definitely a contender for Player of the Year. Then they took on Newcastle 1-0. Shinji Okazaki with a goal. But then this is what kind of makes champions, where you grind out nitty-gritty wins. For the 3rd match in a row, they went to they won 1-0 at Crystal Palace. Riyad Mahrez. 4th game in a row, they won 1-0 again at Southampton. Wes Morgan. That was 4 1-0s in a row. Then they went to the Stadium of Light, took on Sunderland. Jamie Vardy scored 2 in that one. Leicester City took on West Ham next, 2-2. Draw again, dropping a bit of points with the title still not confirmed, but well in their grasp. Vardy and Joa. Then they took on Leicester City. Riyad Mahrez scored 1. Leonardo Joa got 2. And Mark Albrighton got in on the act. Then they went to Old Trafford, drew 1-1. Wes Morgan without the suspended Jamie Vardy. But then the next day, the inevitable that it was going to be the inevitable was confirmed, because Chelsea held Tottenham to a 2-2 draw. Leicester City were confirmed as Premier League champions. Oh my word, what scenes there was. What the news, headlines, everything. And for me, it was incredible to see a team like Leicester City, 5,000 to 1, win the Premier League with not really high-profile players. Vardy came from non-league. Mahrez, you had not really heard of as much. Albrighton, Drinkwater, Wes Morgan, Kasper Schmeichel was not really on the greats of his father, though. But they won the league. They knew how to play together. Ranieri had formed some sort of super team for some reason, and super subs like Joa, Okazaki coming on to score goals for them as well. And at that point, they had won the league before my beloved Liverpool. That was even more kind of embarrassing for Liverpool, but it was incredible to see someone else, apart from United, City, Chelsea, win the league. But then 2 more games to go. Leicester City beat Everton 3-1. Jamie Vardy, back from his 1-match ban, scored 2, and Josh King. And then they ended the season at Stamford Bridge, where they drew 1-1. To go to Chelsea after that season, or the season afterwards, Danny Drinkwater scored the goal. So that was all 38 games of that Premier League season of Leicester City's historic Premier League win 2015-16 season. It was absolutely incredible, and it also made lifelong fan Gary Lineker host match of the day in just his underwear. He said that if Leicester City won the league, he would host, I think it was the one next season, the first match of the day of next season, or the last of that current season, in his underwear. And to be fair, he stuck to his word, and he done it. What a lad he was. What a season for Leicester City. So that has been the review. And if you haven't already, can you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel? You can also, as I've said before, comment in the comment section below on what you think of the video, and if there's any more you would like to see. So this has been episode 2, the 2015-16 season, the Leicester City story. I've been Oliver James, and until part 3, see you later.